literally have to change the oil with this truck every 3,000 miles. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're gonna be going over the things that I wish I knew before I purchased my 2021 Ram 1500 TRX. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory, so let's get right into the video. Now, the first thing that I wish I knew before I purchased the TRX was that the transmission was gonna fail in the first 2,000 miles. I always have to make the joke about the transmission, but aside from that, let's actually get into it. So first off, what PSI to actually set the tires. Now, if you guys don't know, I had a 2020 Ford Raptor, and I typically drove that around 35 to 36 PSI most of the time. And well, that truck had a recommended PSI of 38 as the cold weather. And this is the same thing, 38 PSI cold weather. But in reality, that is far too high for comfort. So it's probably kind of hard to hear me because, well, the exhaust is pretty loud and it's going to get louder. But you guys can see I've got the PSI set at 32. It is 95 degrees outside. And so yes, obviously it's not cold, and I have the PSI way below the 38, and just trust me, ride quality is great. Now, if you do a ton of highway driving, you might want to have the PSI a little bit higher. I do a mix between city and highway, and yeah, no issues whatsoever. So that's the first thing, is just what PSI to actually set the truck at, and that's what I recommend if you own a TRX. Try 32. If it's not soft enough, go a little bit lower. If it's too soft and you feel like it's just not going well for you, then just go up a little bit higher, but I feel like that's a good space to be. Now let's try to fire through the next few points. The first one is with the front bumper and the ground clearance. When you're driving slow off-road, it does great, has tons of ground clearance. When you're going fast, you've got physics, right? You've got so much weight from a Hellcat engine pushing on the front end, comes down quite a bit. I'd recommend higher ground clearance bumpers. I'm getting them from Addictive Desert Designs. Definitely worth it. Just a recommendation right there. Kind of wish I knew that from the start. Aside from that, nothing else to do here with the tire and wheel setup. The suspension, all that has done great. I really don't have anything to comment there. This is funny. When you're washing the truck, make sure that you wash out the venting here, because this is real venting. Make sure you like fully spray it out, because sometimes soap will kind of like hold up in there a little bit, and then when you drive, right, the air comes through and then splatters it on the side of the truck. So I guess just know that. And then also up here, make sure you scrub this, because it pulls soap and water, and so that's just like a cleaning tip in general. Which, I mean, I'm not... Don't take cleaning tips from me, because like I'm horrible at cleaning vehicles. Apparently my vehicles are always dirty. The other thing is, this kickstep comes with a bed utility group, and well, it's pretty worthless. So when you take the truck off-road, it constantly like flies out all the time, and so it's kind of funny. And then also like tons of mud and everything gets pulled up on it. So I'm actually going to take this off of my truck. I'd recommend you do the same if you take the truck off-road, because it's just going to get dirty. You're probably not going to use it, and also it flies out all the time when you are going off-road with the truck. Now, something else that might seem stupid, but I've seen a lot of people mention this online, so I am going to mention it, is the fact that if you get the tire carrier in the bed like what I have, that doesn't mean that you get an extra tire. You guys can see underneath here, no spare. So what they do is they just take the spare that's underneath the truck and they put it in the bed mount. That is it. So there's no extra tire and wheel that comes with the truck. So you always get 5 wheels and tires. You'd never get 6. It's just you can get the tire carrier in the bed. And also, you guys know I recommend getting the tire carrier because it keeps the tire and wheel clean. Even when you go off-road, it's definitely worth it. Like, money well spent. And then also something else is with these lights, I'd recommend, if you are going to get the lights that go on the top of the rack, get 4 of them. I have 2 more on order. The 2 lights do a really good job, but 4 is definitely the route to go. From an aesthetic look, the 4 looks better, but then also from a visibility standpoint, it's just the way to go. Now the next thing has to do with the interior of the truck. So you guys can see the TRX actually has a really nice interior. You've got tons of really nice leather, carbon fiber, Alcantara stitching, all that kind of stuff. And you guys can see it looks pretty nice here. And coming to the front door panel also looks pretty nice. Something to note, definitely difficult to clean with all the materials. The leather is pretty easy. You guys can see it's pretty dusty. I haven't cleaned it since last time I went off-roading. Don't worry, I will detail it soon. But the Alcantara definitely a little bit more difficult to clean being an off-road type vehicle. Now coming to the seats, and this just applies to any vehicle with leather seats, these parts are pretty easy to clean, but again, the Alcantara kind of difficult, and then the perforations, right, that have to be there because of the cooled function. Another thing that you just got to be careful, because if you get stuff stuck in it, it is definitely a pain to get it out. One thing that has been a little bit weird is actually the fit and finish with everything. So the only place I've really noticed it is right here in the dash. You guys can see how it looks, and it came like that brand new from the factory. You can see kind of how it's like bulging out a little bit there. So the fit and finish isn't absolutely perfect on the truck. I mean, for $95,000, I wish it would be, but it's not. That's, I guess, another thing that I wish I knew. And also here at the center console, again, this gets pretty dirty all the time. You guys can see there's a little bit right there. But what I find myself doing is try to rest your arm right here, because if you rest your arm in the middle of the Alcantara, your sweat will bleed through. And yeah, definitely not a good thing to happen. And so I guess, yeah, that's just another thing to note, is just if you're going to get the center console with the Alcantara in the center, you just got to be careful with it, or you could run it pretty quickly. So yeah, there's that. And then also with the steering wheel as well, this is another fit and finish area. You guys can kind of see, sorry, I don't know if it's popping up on a camera very well, but I mean, it's just like, it seems like the leather is just kind of wants to shrink a little bit with the truck, which, I mean, it happens with some vehicles. I completely understand, but it seems like everything, like, it's just not exactly, I mean, look at this right here at the carbon fiber. It's not like perfectly glued down. So yeah, I mean, it's not a big deal. Like, me personally, I don't care whatsoever, but I can understand someone might. That's why I'm bringing it up. But yeah, I mean, that's just another thing, is the fit and finish on the TRX isn't exactly perfect. And something else that some people have mentioned that my truck really doesn't have is just like inconsistencies with the leather. Like, I've seen center consoles where like one side is super wrinkly and then the other side will be super smooth. And so there is that. Now, the next thing is with starting up the truck. Gosh, it sounds so good every single time, like, just, that never gets old. And well, I've got to mention this because it is very important, and we all know that the TRX is going to get bad fuel economy, but just how bad is it? Well, wait for it, 9.3 miles per gallon is what I've been averaging, and yeah, it just, we all know it's going to get bad fuel economy, but it's really hard to even get the EPA ratings. The EPA rates this at 10 around town and then 14 on the highway. The highest I've ever gotten on the highway is 12, and the highest I've ever gotten around town is like 9, roughly speaking. And so, yeah, fuel economy is horrible. Off-road, you're gonna get about 4.5 miles per gallon if you're hammering on it. If you're being light on the throttle, you'll get like 7 or 8 miles per gallon. And so yes, again, we know it's gonna get bad fuel economy, but that's how bad it is. Just understand that if you're thinking about getting a TRX. Now, the next thing is with the drive mode select, and this is something that a lot of people definitely get confused on. I guess also with the screen, sometimes it doesn't like to just, I mean, you click on the button, nothing happens. So with the drive modes, change it from the screen. Like this little thing right here, it's to change the drive modes as well. I absolutely hate it. Like, it's just not the most responsive thing. Like, half the time when you press it, like I just pressed it and nothing happened. So yeah, that's super annoying. I recommend just using the screen. Now, the other thing that I wish I knew was about the traction control system. So everyone knows that when you put it in the sport mode or when you put it in the Baja mode, notice that it turns off the stability control, but that is not nearly enough. When you drive it with that just in effect, it does an okay job, but it's not great. So what you want to do is you have to be fully parked, hold this down, and wait for about 10 seconds. And then you notice that it'll say that all that stuff is off. It drives so much better with everything turned off, especially off-road. Now, on-road, obviously, I wouldn't recommend doing it. And then also you can know that it says off. So like if I go to custom and then back to Baja, notice this stability control Baja versus off. Having everything off, the truck just drives way better. I'd recommend driving it off-road with the stability control all the way off. It's a little bit more tail happy, it's a little bit more fun, but just overall it's a better driving experience. And I kind of wish I knew that coming into the truck, because now that I drive it off-road with the stability control all the way off like that, it just is a much better experience. And then the next thing is with the launch control setup. So you guys can see I've got the launch control. Now, you guys will notice we got the performance, and then you have the race options over here. This is where you set the launch control. 2,300 RPMs, that is the best. You can go all the way up to 3,500. It doesn't really do anything. And then you can go all the way down to 1,000. Again, doesn't really do anything. I've noticed that 2,300, right? Well, we'll just scroll because that'll be easier. And one more. 2,300 is the perfect amount. And of course, we went down to 22. Okay. Anyways, the reason that's the perfect amount is it doesn't bog down and spin out like crazy like you get with 3,500 RPMs, but then it's enough that it actually punches off the line. And so if you do 2,300 RPMs and you have everything turned off from a stability control perspective, you can actually get a pretty good 0 to 60, which I'll show you guys my best 0 to 60 as this is loading up. And then also camera mirror, you guys know that is definitely where it is at. And I guess this is what you should also know is the performance pages take like half a century to load up every single, I mean, look at this. There we go. So you can see my best 0 to 60, 4.3 seconds, 0.2 seconds faster than the manufacturer's amount. And I mean, my last 0 to 60 is 4.7. It's pretty easy to get this over and over again. And if you guys are running my best 0 to 60 off-road, I got like 5.5 seconds, I think. And I mean, that's off-road, so tires spinning like crazy. So the truck still has a really good 0 to 60, and that is about the same as the Ford Raptor on road. So like this has a better sorry, not better, but a same 0 to 60 as a Ford Raptor, but off-road. So just take that into consideration. The next one is with vehicle information, and we've got to find the important one. Oh, there we go. Oil life. So you guys can see I have 4,900 miles on the truck. I'm at 45%, and you guys will be like, oh, well, that's not bad, because have you had a first oil change? The answer is yes, I have had my first oil change already. So you literally have to change the oil with this truck every 3,000 miles. And it's not like, oh, I'm gonna change the oil every 3,000 miles because I wanna make sure that the truck, I'm just gonna take these off because they keep falling off, because I want the truck to stay well maintained, all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, you have to change it every 3,000 miles because the oil is done for after about 3,000 miles. So just understand the oil change intervals with this truck, even with fully synthetic, are just gonna be shorter because that Hellcat engine just eats through oil like crazy. And even if you drive the truck like a sane human being and you don't take it off-road, you're still gonna have to do pretty regular oil changes. I imagine you could stretch it out to maybe 3,500 or 4,000 miles. But yeah, just take that into consideration, that the oil life with this truck just, it doesn't last for that long, and you're gonna have to do oil changes all the time. I'm just gonna fire through a few more things and then we'll cap things off for today's video. So this truck has 4-wheel drive all the time. Turning radius is horrible because of that. And then on top of that, just like the Raptor, doesn't have a super high payload capacity or towing capacity. It's a misconception. A lot of people see 700 horsepower and they think, oh, this thing's gonna tow great. Only 8,000 pounds for the towing, and then payload's only about 1,000 pounds because of the suspension, and the Hellcat engine pulls from the payload quite a bit. So just understand that on those two fronts. And then other than that, let me know in the comment section below if you guys have questions about anything else that you'd like to know about the TRX before you purchase it. I feel like I covered most of the things. Oh, also the brakes. This truck weighs a lot and the brakes are okay, but they're not great. Understand that like you're gonna have to press into the brakes quite a bit harder and quite a bit earlier than you'd expect with the truck. So also just take that into account, safety thing. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions, let me know in the comment section below so I can answer those for you. But again, I feel like I covered most of the stuff that I wish I had known, or that I feel like people don't really think about before purchasing this truck, or a lot of questions I've seen asked about this truck by people that are thinking about purchasing it. And yeah, if you're stopping for the first time, please subscribe, and I will see all of you in the next video.